player props here on PrizePicks for Monday, January 9th. Before I get started, there's a link in the description below to sign up for PrizePicks, or you can use promo code TUFF to sign up. PrizePicks will match 100% of your first deposit. There's also a Discord link in the description where we have the main server completely free, as well as Patreon link where I do post all the plays that I'm making here on PrizePicks for each given sport that I do play. Again, I'm not a gambling expert, and this is not financial advice. These are simply just the plays I'm personally looking at making, hopefully giving you guys some insight and analysis to make your own player prop decisions here. But let's get right into it, you guys. Two props here. We have a smaller slate today. I think 7 games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games today. So only 12 teams playing. Much smaller slate than what we've been seeing recently. But I got 2 props here that I do like on the board currently. I guess both these players you would consider to be superstar players, or I guess at least star players here. Yeah, let's get into it, you guys. 2 props that I do like Monday, January 9th. Let's go. So the first one I like is going to be kind of a baby wagon for us. DeMar DeRozan over 36.5 PRA. He's coming off a game where he had 44 PRA 2 days ago against Utah. Kind of a get-right game for him after some tough games here against Brooklyn and Philly. But if we take a look at DeMar's, well, first off, let's take a look at the spread real quick. Boston is going to be 8.5-point favorites on the road. I'm sorry, at home. Boston is at home here. Chicago's on the road. 236.5 over under, though. 8.5-point favorites for Boston, which is interesting that it is at 8.5. Looking like Caruso is going to be back here, and then also Marcus Smart is going to be out for this game, which kind of I think bodes well for DeMar DeRozan. I think definitely multiple possessions where he was going to be guarded here by Marcus Smart. But at 36.5 PRA, we take a look at DeMar DeRozan's points, rebounds, plus assist game log. I mean, he's hit the over on this quite a bit of times this season, right? So we take away like his miss here, his miss here, and his miss here, and his miss here. He went on a nice stretch of a very high floor as far as his PRA goes. I mean, it was at 39, 34, 39, 42, 45, 57, 51, 44. PRA, right? But I just love the matchup here, right? DeMar DeRozan has faced the Boston Celtics already 3 times this season. His other game this season, earlier this season on November 4th in Boston, which we're getting in Boston again tonight, he had 54 PRA, 46, 3, and 5. All right, 54 PRA. Most recently on November 21st, he had 40 PRA against Boston. So he's hit the over on this 2 of 3 times this season, and then 1 of 35 earlier in the season, where the Bulls kind of just looked lost as a whole offensively. Small forwards recently, I guess in the month of December, we saw 3, primary number 1 options for their teams offensively hit the over on this. Kawhi just recently had 37 PRA against the Celtics. Paolo Banchero had 40, 31, 6, and 3, and then Jimmy Butler back on December 2nd had 43 PRA, 25, 15, and 3. But I love this matchup here for a few reasons. One, take a look at this. DeMar DeRozan, the most field goal attempts from 15 to 19 feet in the NBA. He takes 5.7 per game. The most field goal makes from 15 to 19 feet, right? Right. Most field goal attempts, most field goal makes from 15 to 19 feet. The team that gives up the most field goal attempts from 15 to 19 feet are the Milwaukee Bucks. Boston Celtics are number 2. They give up the most field goal makes, and they have the second highest field goal percentage from 15 to 19 feet. Right, so the most field goals made from the sweet spot of DeMar DeRozan at 15 to 19 feet. He makes 2.6 per game, which is most in the NBA by 0.7. The Celtics give up the most in the game by 0.4. And then even breaking it down to 10 to 14 feet, right? The Celtics, third in the NBA, 8.5 field goal attempts from 10 to 14 feet. They give up the third most, 3.8 field goal makes from 10 to 14 feet. Breaking it down, DeMar DeRozan, 10 to 14 feet. Third most in the NBA, 1.8 per game field goal attempts. 4th most in the NBA, 3.6. But what is interesting about this here, if we go back to the team that gives up the most field goal attempts from 15 to 19 feet is the Milwaukee Bucks, 8.4, and the most 10 to 14 feet is the Milwaukee Bucks, 10 to 10.5. Right, so look at this. Milwaukee Bucks give up the most field goal attempts from 10 to 14 feet and 15 to 19 feet. We already know DeMar is top 5 in both those things. DeMar DeRozan's PRA against the Bucks this season, 47 and 48. Cooked the Bucks 2 times this season for 57 PRA and 48 PRA. Great spot here for DeMar. As far as offensively, I think he can get a 30-piece easily tonight just on points alone, but playing a little bit safer here with his over 36.5 PRA. This has been an absolute wagon for us. Love the matchup. Hopefully this game can remain close with an 8.5-point spread. I think this game will remain close. Honestly, I think Chicago's offense can keep up with Boston's offense. Just really hoping for a close game here. The second prop I'm targeting here, we're going to take Giannis, and I'm looking at his over 54.5 fantasy score here against the New York Knicks. Now, Giannis, right, before this miss, and when I say this is a miss, this is probably his worst game in years statistically against Charlotte, of all teams that just get cooked in the paint. He had 10 fantasy points. Not that he played horrible. I mean, he only played 22 minutes, but yeah, it was just a horrible game for him in that game. If you take a look at his game log, he played 22 minutes, 2 for 7 from the field, 2 personal fouls, 3 turnovers, 9 points, and 4 rebounds. So, Giannis is extremely competitive. He plays hard all the time. I definitely think this is kind of a motivating standpoint for him here tonight against the Knicks. Now, this game has one of the closest spreads on the day at only Knicks being 1 point home favorites here. Still no Chris Middleton in this matchup, 221 over under. But I like this for a few reasons. So, this season, Giannis in 2 games versus the Knicks already, at New York Knicks at Madison Square Garden earlier this season on November 30th, he had 63.1 fantasy points. Then earlier before that against the Knicks at Milwaukee, he had 64. So he's gone 63 and 64 fantasy points in both matchups versus the Knicks already this season. We take a look at kind of his splits here. We know that he's going to be able to score. I mean, points 33.9 points per game at home, 29.7 on the road. So if he can get us 30 points tonight, we'll be happy with that. But his rebounds goes up tremendously, almost from 10.7 to 13.1. Assists go up as well. Blocks go up as well. I mean, barely, but blocks do go up here. Giannis, if we take a look at kind of his fantasy score game log this season, I mean, before that dud, he was on an absolute heater, right? So 79, 78, 78, 61 fantasy points in 4 straight games here, 2 times on the road. Just was really looking completely and absolutely unstoppable. His PRA is set at 48.5, so we're getting like a 6-point discrepancy between his PRA and his fantasy score, which I do like. I like kind of taking fantasy score if there's anything less than a 7-point discrepancy, just because that 0.5 for assists and the 0.2 for rebounds plus steals and blocks as well. At 54.5, we're taking a look at Giannis over the last 10 games, or last 5 games. He's averaging the most fantasy points per minute. It's 1.73 fantasy points per minute for Giannis, which is the most in the NBA of players playing tonight. I mean, in comparison, Jokic, LeBron are down here at 1.60. LeBron's at 1.5. Ja Morant 1.48. Giannis 1.73 fantasy points per minute over the last 5 games here. We're taking a look at just some peripherals. He's averaging 13.1 potential assists over his last 10 games, as well as 21.2 potential rebounding chances. Giannis, fantasy score game log this season versus the Knicks, gone crazy. If we just take a look at his fantasy score game log at New York Knicks, I mean, he continues to play well at Madison Square Garden. I mean, he's hit the over on this 5 times in his career at Madison Square Garden. 2018, he went for 75 fantasy points at Madison Square Garden. Love the over here on this one at kind of a bounce back game. Again, 63 and 65 fantasy points already versus the Knicks this season. Played one of his worst games of his career last game. I think he bounces back here on the road at Madison Square Garden. Primetime electric matchup for him. These are the 2 plays here I'm targeting today. 2-man power play. Again, I don't usually bet more than $10 on the 2-man powers. Just so you guys know, I'm just looking to build my bag. I'm not looking to change my life here, sports betting. I hope you guys have somewhat of a similar mindset. Yeah, let me know in the comments below how you guys feel about these 2 props. Hit that subscribe button, drop a like on this video, and as always, let's cash.